The power's been out for 3 days. The screams started on night 1 and haven't stopped since. A terrified man dragging his child down a stairwell lit only by a candle. A petrol bomb explodes in a supermarket. A body lying face down in an alley with a can of beans still clutched in one hand. There's no more police, no government, no rescue. Just gangs, hunger and silence. This isn't panic anymore. It's the new reality. Boots stomping through broken glass and a prepper slamming a crowbar across a reinforced door. Hand-scrawled note on a shuttered house. No food, armed. A bloodied hand reaching for a radio that's only static. You made it past the panic. Now comes the reckoning. The collapse didn't end, it deepened. And everything you thought you knew about survival, forget it. The UK is gone. What's left is tribes, tyrants, and the brutal law of survival. A mother with a knife in one hand and her child in the other, standing in front of a boarded window. A prepper igniting a flare. A fire tearing through a housing estate. Colder. After the first 72 hours, the question isn't how do I survive? It's how far will I go to live? This is Prepper's Edge. Subscribe now or learn the hard way. In the first week after the collapse, darkness and chaos reign. City streets reek of smoke and garbage as bins overflow and no one comes to collect them. Power is gone. The national grid failed on day 1, and every night is pitch black save for distant fires. The initial shock and panic of the first 72 hours begin to harden into grim endurance. Urban streets rot, smashed windows and looted shops line high streets across Britain. With ATMs dead and card payments offline, desperate crowds stripped supermarkets in days, leaving only ransacked aisles and debris. By day 3, the taps have run dry and toilets back up. Sewage and rubbish make the air rank. City dwellers huddle in dark flats, conserving torch batteries and praying for relief that isn't coming. Rural villages fall silent. In the countryside, the collapse feels eerily quiet. The electric hum of modern life has ceased. No tractors in the fields, no lights in cottage windows after dusk. Some villages have been cut off as petrol runs out. Few cars pass on the roads now. Farmers guard their yards with shotguns or improvised weapons, uncertain whether to welcome weary city refugees or turn them away. Livestock roam unattended as supply trucks stop arriving. In remote hamlets of Yorkshire or the Scottish Highlands, people revert to candlelight and wood fires, listening to battery radios for any news. But the news is uniformly grim. No power, no law. As the week wears on, policing evaporates. The authorities, overwhelmed and understaffed, largely retreat to protect their own families. The thin veneer of law and order vanishes. Even 999 calls go unanswered. In cities, looting and arson spike by the end of the first week. Gangs of youths and opportunistic criminals roam after dark, knowing no police will stop them. Each night brings the crackle of distant fires and screams that no one comes to help. Ordinary families barricade their doors with furniture. Psychological shock is giving way to brutal realism. Many now realize this is not a temporary outage, but a societal collapse. There are police, this cannot happen. There is law, people told themselves at first, clinging to false hope. Now those illusions are the first victims of the collapse. This is the new reality. Hope fades, resolve hardens. By the end of week 1, millions of Britons face a harsh truth. The cavalry isn't coming. Government emergency broadcasts, if heard at all on crank radios, are sparse and offer little beyond generic advice. Westminster has gone quiet and rumours spread that leaders evacuated to bunkers. In the streets of London, Birmingham, Manchester, the last shop shelves were picked clean days ago. Hungry crowds have dispersed back to their dark homes or makeshift camps. A few have already decided to flee the cities on foot, forming long columns of migrants heading into the unknown. Those who remain ration canned food and stale water. It's only been a week, yet it feels like an eternity. The UK has descended into a twilight of lawlessness and fear. In this bleak dawn of collapse, survival becomes a matter of grit. Enduring the cold nights, scrounging for water, staying unseen, and resisting the panic that scrabbles at the mind. The first battle of this collapse is fought within. Will you succumb to despair or steel yourself for the long fight ahead? Week 2 brings a power vacuum and new, ruthless leaders rush to fill it. With official law enforcement gone, criminal gangs and vigilantes stake their claims. In the estates and high-rises of the cities, gang leaders emerge as local warlords. They seize what weapons they can. In Britain, that means knives, axes, bats, and a few illegal firearms. In the chaos, some raided police stations and country manors for any guns available. These gangs control streets and blocks, demanding tribute from any residents who remain. Protection rackets spring up. A former drug gang in East London now goes door to door, offering protection for a few cans of food, refuse, and you might be made an example of. Neighbourhoods become fiefdoms. One block is ruled by a biker gang, the next by a band of armed teenagers. Anyone caught between territories is in danger. It's a page out of Mad Max, but without the luxury of plentiful petrol or firearms. Brutal men and women rule with machetes and hunger-fed aggression. In some areas, vigilante groups form to protect their own. Not every makeshift authority is overtly evil. On a rural lane, a few farmers and homeowners band together to ward off looters, essentially becoming an armed watch. In one Devon village, the parish council rebrands itself as an emergency committee, organising nightly patrols with hunting rifles and shotguns. They barricade the roads into town with tractors. While criminal gangs terrorise the cities, some civilian militias try to keep a semblance of order in the countryside. Yet even these well-intentioned groups can slide into tyranny. Summary justice is meted out to suspected thieves. A stranger from outside is as likely to be shot as welcomed. Fear and mistrust permeate every interaction. Control of resources equals sign power. By the second week, the true currency of this collapsed Britain is not pounds sterling or political office. It's food, fuel, and water. Local strongmen who secured stockpiles in the first days now assert authority. Picture a petrol station on the edge of a Midlands town. Its underground tanks still hold thousands of litres of fuel. A gang armed with knives and one stolen shotgun has taken over the forecourt. They've rigged a hand pump to extract petrol and trade it by the jerrycan at extortionate prices, or for whatever valuables desperate people can offer. In the Scottish lowlands, a group of opportunists occupies a regional food distribution depot, hoarding tons of canned goods. They stylise themselves as a provisional committee, but operate like a mob, doling out rations only to those who swear loyalty. Clean water sources are seized too. A natural spring in Cumbria has men with clubs guarding it, demanding labour or supplies in exchange for filling a canteen. Meanwhile, communities improvise governance in some pockets. In the absence of Westminster, a patchwork of tiny governments forms. Some are tyrannical, run by those with guns. Others are quasi-democratic, led by community elders or former local officials. In one small town, the mayor and a retired military captain create a safe zone downtown, enforcing a strict curfew and bartering system in the market square. They have a few ex-police officers who kept their uniforms, now serving as the town's ad hoc peacekeepers. Anyone causing trouble is exiled. In another area, a self-declared protector, formerly a gym owner turned thug, controls several villages by fear, styling himself as the law. Week 2 is the birth of these new orders. It's feudal Britain in modern dress, fractured territories ruled by whoever holds the most brute force or community trust. For the average survivor, this is an increasingly treacherous landscape. If you're in an area under gang control, you face hard choices. Submit to their rules and extortion. Attempt to fight or resist, likely a death sentence, or flee and take your chances on the road. If you're lucky to be in a community with a fair council, you'll still be bound by their rationing and duties. Individual freedom is a casualty of the collapse. No national law exists now beyond each local strongman's whim. Roads between these enclaves are lawless frontiers. Travel is dangerous, as roaming bandits prey on anyone moving with supplies. In just 2 weeks, Britain has devolved into a patchwork of microstates, some brutal, some merely strict, all competing for the dwindling resources. The rule of the jungle has returned, and only those who wield power or cunning can shape what comes next. 4 weeks in, money is meaningless. A £20 note might as well be toilet paper. In fact, toilet paper itself is far more valuable now. With banks shut and the pound in free fall, barter has become the lifeblood of survival. People trade tangible goods and skills for what they need. Food, medicine, fuel, ammunition, batteries, these are the new currency. In makeshift markets that pop up in town squares or the corners of refugee camps, you see the new economy in action. A half-empty bottle of cooking oil might be traded for a few antibiotics pills. A working hand-crank radio could fetch several days' worth of food rations. Fuel is liquid gold. A jerrycan of petrol can buy you almost anything. From a place on a secure convoy to a stash of canned beans, cash is worthless. Survival commodities, a king trust, however, has become dangerous. By the 1-month mark, everyone is suspicious of everyone else, and often for good reason. There are countless stories of bait and betray. A stranger offers a trade, say bread for batteries, but when you meet them, you're jumped by their friends who are lying in wait. Those who survive learn fast that caution is paramount. Travel to barter must be done carefully, ideally with a partner or guard. Smart survivors trade in neutral zones like an open market with many onlookers, rather than one-on-one in secluded areas. Reputation now matters greatly. If you develop a name as an honest trader who doesn't cheat or poison others, people will do business with you. But if you cross someone or gain a bad reputation, you might be shunned or targeted. In the absence of formal contracts or police, your word and the trust others place in you is a literal matter of life and death. By the end of month 1, new rules of survival have crystallized. Some people fail to adjust and pay the ultimate price. Others adapt and even thrive in the harsh new reality. Mistakes that many made in the early weeks are now clear, refusing to adapt. A few stubborn holdouts insisted help will come and clung to their old cash, lifestyles or hierarchies. They refused to adapt, kept trying credit cards, guarding valueless jewelry, or sticking to the diet and comfort routines of the old world. These people often didn't make it. In a collapse, rigidity can be fatal. Trusting too easily. Those who naively trusted every sob story or took people at face value often walked into traps. This world rewards skepticism. Trust has to be earned, and even then, given sparingly. Tragically, some good-hearted folks paid with their lives for trusting the wrong person. Showing your hand, flashing wealth, what little remains, or advertising your supplies is a grave mistake. The ones who bragged about their pantry or ran a generator loudly at night attracted thieves like moths to flame. Keeping a low profile is now a cardinal rule. Stay flexible and resourceful. The survivors who thrive are those who can think on their feet. They barter creatively, trading items they don't need for those they do, repurposing ordinary objects into useful tools. Adaptability also means knowing when to pack up and move if an area becomes too dangerous. Rigidity kills, flexibility keeps you alive. Remain unseen. In a world gone dark, staying under the radar is a superpower. The wise keep their profile low, travel quietly at dawn or dusk, avoid drawing attention with bright lights or loud noises, and blend into crowds when possible, being invisible to the roaming predators. Out there, whether human or otherwise, allows you to survive another day. In practical terms, use a small shielded fire or candle for cooking at night so it's not easily seen. Dress in unremarkable clothes and never let on how much food or kit you have. The grey man or woman survives. Be strategic with alliances. While trust is scarce, alliances do form among the shrewd. Pick your friends carefully, ideally people you knew before the collapse, or those whose reputation you've observed. Small trading networks or mutual defense pacts can make the difference in obtaining necessities. The successful survivors often operate in teams or pairs. They watch each other's backs during trades and share skills. One might be a medic, another a mechanic. Choose allies you can rely on and plan out your moves. Whether it's coordinating night watches or pooling supplies, strategy and cooperation give you an edge that lone wolves lack. By 1 month in, Britain's economy is fully on a barter system. You see barter bazaars where grim-faced people swap goods and information. A kind of primitive market code is evolving. Perhaps a coloured cloth on a doorstep indicates willingness to trade with travellers. Certain hand signals or radio frequencies are recognized as trader channels, but it's always laced with tension. A deal can go bad in a heartbeat if one side feels cheated. In this ruthless market, survival favors the prepared. Those who stored supplies or skills ahead of time now have leverage. A prepper with a stock of water filters and medical supplies can trade them at premium rates. A mechanic with tools and bicycle parts, bikes are now worth their weight in gold as fuel vanishes, can get protection and food in return for keeping others' transport running. In short, the old rules of society are gone. Now every decision is transactional, every action potentially a negotiation for survival. Adapt to the new rules or perish with the old world. By the 2nd month, a heavy weariness sets in across the surviving population. This is Collapse fatigue. The adrenaline of the first frantic weeks has burned out, and a grim routine takes hold. For many, hope has dwindled. They are alive, but not truly living, just going through motions in a nightmare that doesn't end. Mental health becomes as critical as food and water. Depression surges as people grapple with the loss of loved ones, homes, and any sense of normalcy. In some pockets, suicide rates climb, the hopeless see no way out. Studies of disaster survivors show roughly 10% report suicidal thoughts within just a couple of months after the catastrophe. This collapse is no different. Each day, survivors wake to the same hellish reality, and the weight of it grows heavier. It's not just the hunger or the cold, it's the silence of a world with no TV, no internet, no distant bustle, the loneliness inside even when others are around. Many suffer nightmares or insomnia. PTSD-like symptoms are common as people relive violent events from the collapse. The sound of a distant scream or a door slamming can send someone into a trembling panic or blind rage. The mind is under assault, and those who can't strengthen their psyche begin to break. Trust issues also intensify and can fracture groups. By month 2, betrayal has become an everyday fear. There are instances of friends turning on friends over a can of food, or a community member stealing precious medicine and fleeing in the night. Paranoia is a poison in the survivor communities, and leaders struggle to keep people unified. Survival now depends not just on food or weapons, but on mental resilience and group cohesion. The bright spots in this darkness are the tight-knit prepper groups and improvised families of survivors who manage to support each other. Where lone individuals falter, a determined group can reinforce morale. Preppers who banded together prior to or during the collapse draw on strict tactics and routines to keep everyone alive and sane. In these groups, there is often a clear structure and shared purpose that combat the chaos outside. Leadership and rules emerge. Many groups operate almost like military units or monasteries of survival. Everyone has a role. One keeps watch, one cooks, one tends a vegetable patch or forages, another handles repairs, another is on radio duty scanning for signals. This division of labor gives each person a sense of purpose and prevents the idle brooding that can lead to despair. Effective survival communities adopt specific tactics to maintain order and morale. Here are a few seen across the UK's survivor enclaves. Rotating watches. A schedule is life-saving. In a group of any size, someone is assigned to be on guard at all times, day and night. Exhaustion is dangerous, so shifts are rotated to allow rest. By month 2, survivors know never to let their guard completely down. 2-hour watch shifts through the night are common bleary-eyed sentinels with torches and whistles standing at windows or perimeter fences, listening in the darkness. This not only provides early warning of danger, but also instills discipline. Preppers long preached this. Set up security watches 24/7, and indeed it has saved many lives. Defined roles and routine. Each dawn, the group leader or an agreed plan assigns tasks. Fetch water from the river, chop firewood, mend the shelter, wash clothes, care for the ill. Everyone has duties. This mimicry of normal life tasks helps stave off the mental drift. For example, one group in Cornwall turned their ruin of a farm into a mini-fortress with every member assigned a job, like it was a homestead: gardener, hunter, cook, medic, guard, scavenger. Such role division not only increases efficiency, it reinforces to each person that they are needed. A sense of duty and routine is a powerful antidote to apathy. Community rules and councils. Many survivor groups, to avoid infighting and mistrust, establish clear rules. Some write them down. If paper is scarce, they're etched on walls or taught orally. Common rules include how supplies are shared, how decisions are made, and how to handle encounters with outsiders. Group meetings or councils might convene each week to air grievances. This prevents resentment from festering into betrayal. In successful communities, punishments for theft or violence are agreed upon, so if someone violates trust, there's a process: banishment, labor penalties, etc., rather than a spiral of vengeance. These rules become a new social contract binding the group together in a time of lawlessness. Perhaps the most important unwritten rule among seasoned survivors is to take care of one another's mental well-being. Groups that endure often have figures who act as unofficial counselors or spiritual anchors, maybe an elderly member who reminds everyone what they're fighting for, or simply nightly campfire talks where people share stories of better days. A dark humor emerges too. Even gallows humor can diffuse tension. For example, a prepper group in Leeds starts each morning parade with a crude joke or a shared prayer, anything to spark a bit of hope. Optimism, as scarce as it is, becomes a survival tool. Studies after real disasters show that hope and social support significantly reduce odds of severe depression. In this collapsed UK, hope might be a tiny sprout, the faint rumour of overseas aid coming, or the sight of a baby born healthy amidst the ruin. But it's enough to keep people going. By the end of 2 months, those still standing are not just physically tough, they are mentally hardened. They've learned to push aside the trauma during the day and focus on tasks. They've learned breathing techniques, prayers, or personal rituals to cope with stress. They understand that a prepared mind is the ultimate weapon now. As one prepper elder in a survivor camp often reminds the youths, surviving isn't just about staying alive, it's about not letting this world kill your spirit. And truly the groups that take that to heart display an almost unbreakable spirit. They sing quietly around fires, they teach the children how to read with salvaged books, they make plans for spring planting, they imagine a future. This psychological resilience is what will carry them into that future, if anything will. 1 year after the collapse, Britain is irrevocably changed. The population has been savaged. By some estimates, only a fraction remain of those alive on day one. Illness, starvation, exposure and violence have cut down millions. One prepper estimate claims up to half the population died in the first 100 days alone. The cities are husks of their former selves. London's skyline stands cold and dark, many buildings fire-gutted or overtaken by nature creeping back. But from this devastation, a new Britain is being born, primitively, painfully, but born nonetheless. Across the country, some areas have stabilized into pockets of rudimentary civilization. Let's call them civil bubbles. These are towns or districts where the survivors organized and held on. Perhaps they have running water from a nearby gravity-fed reservoir, or they've rigged solar panels or windmills for a bit of power. They have some form of local government, maybe a council or a defended commune. Within their boundaries, there are rules, maybe even courts or councils to settle disputes. Markets operate under armed watch, so people can trade in relative peace. In these enclaves, life approaches something normal. There's usually a communal mess hall or ration centre, a signal fire or radio that tries to contact other pockets, and teams working to grow food again. Greenhouses made from plastic sheets, allotments turned to crops. The Union Jack might not be flying, but British civility survives in these bubbles, people shaking hands on deals, children being taught to read, maybe a doctor treating patients in a makeshift clinic using herbs and remaining medicine. They represent hope that society, in some form, can rise again from the rubble. Yet outside the safe zones, much of the UK remains lawless badlands. Large swathes of countryside and city alike are no man's land, ruled by no one or by roving bands of marauders. Highways have become ribbons of rusted cars and bones, with occasional toll gangs that ambush any travellers for supplies. Some of the local warlords from month one still hold power in these wild areas, extorting the peasantry around them. Other areas have simply emptied out. Ghost towns where the only signs of life are feral dogs or scurrying rats in the gutters. In these parts of the country, it might be many years before true order returns. They are the dark forest between the kingdoms, so to speak. Who thrives in year one's Britain? A clear pattern emerges when you look at the survivors, who are doing more than just surviving, those who have built something resembling a life. They fall into roughly 3 categories: the adaptable, the invisible, and the tribal. The adaptable are those who let go of the old world quickest and embrace the new reality head-on. They may not have had tons of supplies, but they had the mindset to improvise and learn. If they encountered a problem, say, no clean water, they figured out purification with fire and sand. If their shelter was compromised, they moved and found a new one. This flexibility made them invaluable to any community, and they often became the troubleshooters and leaders. The invisible are those who mastered staying out of harm's way. Many of them were lone or family survivors who avoided population centres and lived off the land or in hidden urban corners. They scavenged quietly, travelled at night, and avoided conflicts. Some of them literally went underground, living in basements, sewers, or rural hideouts. A year on, these invisible survivors have faced fewer fights and losses because they were never where the trouble was. Some remain isolated, while others periodically emerge to cautiously trade. They are the ghosts of the collapse unseen yet enduring. The tribal refers to tight-knit groups, families, bands of friends, or prepper groups who survive by utter loyalty and cooperation. They often had a pre-existing bond or a clear shared goal. These are the communities that likely formed the civil bubbles and enclaves. Within their tribe, everyone pulls their weight and has each other's backs. They may have been not as stealthy as the invisible or as inventive as the adaptable, but together they pooled strengths. Tribal survivors range from a clan of 10 farmers who fortified their valley to a band of former schoolmates in a suburban cul-de-sac who turned it into a little fortress. The key was unity. Divide and conquer was the collapse's strategy to pick humans off, and these folks refused to be divided. United, they conquered the collapse. It's often noted that one group conspicuously thriving after a year is the preppers. Yes, those often mocked for hoarding food and gear, for practicing bushcraft or radio comms in their spare time. They were right all along. When the world fell apart, it was the preppers who had the last laugh. A bitter laugh, to be sure, given the tragedy, but a justified one. Their prior planning made a crucial difference. Many preppers lasted through the first brutal months with food stores and water filters, while others perished. They had caches of batteries, torches, medical kits, and knew how to use them. They knew the importance of sanitation and set up latrine systems to avoid disease. They had radios and knew Morse code or emergency frequencies, so they became the communication lifelines, linking survivor pockets together. In some areas, preppers became de facto leaders or advisors to communities because they knew what to do. Their homes were often stocked like mini fortresses, and while not impenetrable, these became refuge points for neighbors. Those who dismissed them before now either envy them or owe them gratitude for sharing knowledge or supplies. Prepping was never about paranoia, it was about preparedness. And now it's plain to all that preparedness meant survival. In this 1 year post-collapse Britain, glimpses of a possible future begin to appear. There are rumours that in the south, near what was Portsmouth, a functioning free port has been established where a semblance of trade and even electricity via generators is back. Up north, perhaps an isolated Scottish peninsula has declared itself an independent refuge with strict entry requirements but peaceful existence inside. Such stories are carried on the wind or via scratchy ham radio broadcasts from survivor radio operators. Whether all are true or not, they give people something priceless: hope. The idea that one day these bubbles might reconnect, that civilization might patch itself together. For now, life is still incredibly hard and dangerous, but the trajectory is slowly upward in many places. Preppers, Edge, our community of resolute survivors, stands at the forefront of this new dawn. Those who have made it this far have proven themselves tough, resourceful, and united. Look around at what remains. This is the world reborn from ashes. It is harsh, yes, and unforgiving, but it's also a world where the strong of spirit prevail. It's a world that has proven one truth: fortune favors the prepared. To everyone watching, everyone out there holding on, strengthen your mindset. The most important tool in survival is the one between your ears. Keep it sharp, keep it focused. Double down on training your mind to endure fear, isolation, and uncertainty, because those who master themselves can master any crisis. Strengthen your group bonds. If you have people you trust, family, friends, your tribe, hold them close and build that trust into unbreakable steel. Together you are safer and stronger than alone. Communicate, support each other, and stand as one against the chaos. Reaffirm your commitment to readiness every single day. Being ready is not a one-time project, it's a lifestyle. Whether it's storing extra tins of food or practicing escape routes or teaching your children how to purify water, in this collapsed world, preparedness is not a hobby. It's the defining line between tragedy and hope. To the preppers out there, you were right, and you are needed now more than ever. Your knowledge, your foresight, and your courage are the torches lighting the path forward for a new Britain. This past year has been the ultimate test, and you survived. Now lead the way in building something new, something resilient and just. This is Prepper's Edge, and this has been After the First 72 Hours, Life in a Collapsed UK. The fight for survival is far from over, but together, armed with knowledge, grit, and the unyielding human spirit, we will endure. Stay ready, stay resilient, and remember, this is the world we prepared for.